There's been this debate online, is Twitter biased? And if so, for who? You probably have heard many times that companies like Twitter and Facebook are so biased against the right wing. And don't show us those lists of the things that they produce the most viral, get angry quick content. That always being true does not prove that it's not biased against them. They can be shadow banned. Do you know that? Well, Twitter decided this year to look into it, and they did a study to see if certain types of political content are being algorithmically amplified. So is the algorithm itself, which chooses what to show you, benefiting certain types of speech? And so they looked at millions of tweets of elected officials in 7 countries. So this is the US, but it's also Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Spain, the UK as well as hundreds of millions of tweets containing links to articles from news outlets. So stuff that is about politics. In all the countries except Germany, tweets about political content from elected officials, regardless of party or whether the party's in power, do see algorithmic amplification. And that was benefiting the political right. And it didn't mean that the party that was in power necessarily, like it was biased in that way. That 6 out of 7 countries, again, all but Germany, tweets posted by accounts from the political right received more algorithmic amplification than the political left when studied as a group. And when it came to news outlets, the exact same thing occurred. Right-leaning news outlets received more algorithmic amplification than left-leaning news outlets. So both for individual politicians, are there things being seen? And links to political content, the bias is there. The bias is towards the right wing. And that will change nothing about the way they message about social media. They will still whine and complain constantly because it is to their personal immediate benefit to do that. And in fact, this might be an effect of years of whiny lobbying from the right.
Yeah, a lot of obvious things coming out of this. But the one thing that I kind of want to focus on is that maybe it's because the right is good at testing and messaging, because they set typically the framing for most discussions in America, and they do it in a way that ends up triggering things that if you were designing any algorithm to give people more of what they want, you would design in favor of. So the Republicans are the ones who come out and say like death tax, and instead of estate tax, they're the ones who come out and say that like this is all communist, the communist, socialist, radical people. And you have the conversation based on the rhetorical footing that they initially set down. And so that gets people that are supportive of them most riled up. And since there is not as prevalent and unified a message from the left that galvanizes a discussion in that way, the left ends up focusing on the annoying right-wing people who are monsters on purpose. And so you get more interaction on that side. So I think that's probably the genesis of it. And it's incidental over time that because of whoever initially defines the conversation typically benefits from it. I think if I'm, speculating here, but I bet that has a giant impact on it. That's one thing. And the other is there's way more paid media on the right than there is on the left. You can't convince me otherwise. Well, even like on Reddit, when I see like the ridiculous Toilet Paper USA posts, the screen caps they use of like Michael Knowles are all promoted. They buy their views, and that does it. And now if you're on the staff at Facebook and people are like, maybe we should stop making it as right leaning, and you're like, what, they do paid advertising, and also people on the left are talking about it and shooting it down, and that's more speech.
Sure,
they're not gonna change it. And in my conversations over time with people who work at those places, they're like, I have to explain the algorithm to you. We can't just like turn one thing on and one thing off about it. We have to, throw. If you are what you eat, we need to throw more leftist stuff into the algorithm, and it eats it and becomes a slightly more leftist, but we don't know what kind of ungodly amalgamation it's become over the years.
Yes, although we try to play to very different emotions, and they might not be less inherently viral. Anyway, we have only seconds left. Thank you everybody for being here for the first hour. There is more coming. If you're on Twitch or on YouTube, we will be back after this. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.